Hello everyone, my name is drgdsharma and you are watching English. In this video we are going to talk about Shakespearean sonnets. What was exactly his form and how many sonnets he wrote and all about sonnets we are going to discuss in this video. This video is primarily helpful for upcoming examination of UPTGT and PGT and even for other competitive examinations where English is asked. So let's start the video. Let us first understand why these sonnets are called Shakespearean sonnets. Prior to Shakespeare's use of this kind of form, it was known as English sonnets. English sonnet was first used by Henry Howard, Earl of Surrey. He developed this form out of Petrarchan sonnet. When sonnet was brought to England by Thomas Wyatt, so Thomas Wyatt followed Petrarchan form. Petrarchan form was it was divided in octave and sestet form, a 14-line poems divided in octave and sestet. However, Earl of Surrey made changes to this form into three quatrain and a concluding couplet. A poem of 14 lines divided into three quatrains and a couplet. The rhyming scheme of this kind of sonnet was AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, and GG. So these were three quatrains and this was a couplet. So this kind of form was developed by Earl of Surrey Henry Howard and it was later adopted by Shakespeare. Why it is known as Shakespearean sonnet? Because Shakespeare led this form to its perfection. In the hands of Shakespeare, this particular existing form of sonnet achieved success and perfection. So Shakespeare's handling of this kind of sonnet in this way, in this perfect way, led to its name to be Shakespearean sonnet. Or in other words, we can say that in order to honor Shakespeare, this form was associated to his name. The particular meter which Shakespeare and Henry Howard chose for this sonnet was iambic pentameter. Iambic pentameter, as you can say, that a line of 10 syllable in iambic pattern. Iambic means unstressed followed by stressed syllable. So Shakespearean sonnet was comprised of three quatrains and a couplet in AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, GG rhyming scheme in iambic pentameter. That is, it was a line of 10 syllable. As this kind of structure allows the writer or the poet for more space to be devoted to the building of subject or problem than the Italian or the Petrarchan form. It gives more space for developing or building of a subject. So the writer or the poet can develop his subject matter in three quatrains and then it can be concluded or summarized in the concluding couplet. So it allows more flexibility to the writer. That's why this form suited to the genius of Shakespeare. The Italian or the Petrarchan form has somewhat restrictive space for the writer to develop his thoughts and a subject matter. It also has a volta. Volta, you know that it is Italian word for turn. Its meaning is turn of thought as far as its being in sonnet form is concerned. So volta means a turn of thought in sonnet. It is used in Petrarchan form as well or in this Shakespearean or English sonnet as well. So it is a turn of thought or argument. While in Petrarchan form, it occurs between octave and sestet. When there is a turn of thought from octave to sestet, so this turn is called volta. And in English sonnet, this volta occurs in between the three quatrains and the couplet, between the last quatrain, last or third quatrain and couplet, where the writer develops or concludes, rather he concludes his thought process into couplet. So there is a turn from the developed subject matter to its conclusion. And if you want to exemplify its use in Shakespearean particular sonnet, so Sonnet number 129 is the perfect example of this Volta. The title name of this 129 is The Expense of Spirit in a Waste of Time. Now let's discuss the dedication or the printing of these sonnets, Shakespearean sonnets, their publication, their printing, their dedication. So as we know that he wrote 154 sonnets, and for the first time they were published in 1609 in quarto. Quarto, you can refer to my previous video. I told about quarto and folio. So quarto was a printer's sheet folded twice. Near about half of Shakespearean dramas were published or printed in quarto forms in his lifetime. So in that particular quarto, even his sonnets were published in his lifetime in 1609. And the title was Shakespeare, the split word, Shakespeare's Sonnets. The person who is credited or who is assumed to have published or printed these sonnets was Thomas Thorpe. It is also believed that Shakespeare did not grant or consent the publication to this Thomas Thorpe. So without his consent or proper acknowledgement, Thomas Thorpe published these sonnets. And its dedication is also very much doubtful or speculative. There are many assumed arguments about its dedication to different people. Many people assume that the sonnets were dedicated to Mr. W.H. This is mysterious even because no authoritative confirmation has been there always till date as to who this W.H. was. Some people say that it referred to Henry Wriothesley. He was Earl of Southampton. So some people believe that Shakespeare's sonnets were dedicated to this Henry Wriothesley. It is assumed so because Henry Wriothesley was the person to whom Shakespeare dedicated his Venus and Adonis and the rape of the Lucrece. So Shakespeare might have dedicated these sonnets to this same person as well. So this is one of the assumptions. Or it can be William Herbert. Second assumption that sonnets were dedicated to William Herbert. So WH may be referred to Henry Wriothesley or it may be referred to William Herbert, the Earl of Pembroke. Earl of Pembroke was the same person whose name figured among those to whom the first folio was dedicated in 1623. So this is also the strong reason why WH can be interpreted as William Herbert because he was the same person whose name was there on the first folio. So this could be the person of dedication. Or assumption number 3, WH may be referred to William Harvey. William Harvey was the stepfather of Earl of Pembroke. The dedication goes like this: to the only begetter of these in-swing sonnets, Mr. WH. So this is Mr. WH who is being referred to as the dedication, the person of dedication. All happiness and that eternity promised by over ever living poet. Wisheth the well-wishing adventurer in setting forth. TT. This TT refers to Thomas Thorpe. And there is so much speculation as to who this Mr. WH was. Was it Henry Wriothesley or William Herbert or William Harvey? This Thomas Thorpe also published the sonnets of Ben Jonson, John Marston, and George Chapman. So Thomas Thorpe not only published the sonnets of Shakespeare even without his consent, he also published the sonnets of Ben Jonson, John Marston, or George Chapman. Now let's talk about to whom these 150 sonnets were addressed to. So out of 154 sonnets, 126 sonnets were addressed to a young man, 28 addressed to a woman, a mysterious dark lady. There are also speculations as to who this dark lady was. Some people say that it was Mary Fitton, who was born in 1578 and died in 1641. Or it may be the poet Amelia Lanier. So these two ladies are supposed to be the dark lady or the mysterious dark lady of Shakespeare's sonnets. However, the last two sonnets were allegorical treatments of Greek epigrams, which referred to little love god Cupid. So basically, the address goes to little love god, who is Cupid. So in that way, it can be said that 26 were addressed to this dark lady. Final two were the allegorical treatments of Greek epigrams that were referred to little love god. Sonnet 1 to 17, they were addressed to fair youth, whom he urges to marry and to beget children. Sonnet number 78 and 80 and 80 and 86, they were addressed to the rival poet. A rival poet can be Christopher Marlowe or George Chapman. So it is also speculative that who was this rival poet that was addressed to in these sonnets. Was it Christopher Marlowe or George Chapman? And so basically these fair youth or young men, these sonnets were 1 to 126. Sonnet number 127 to 152. They were addressed to the dark lady. And the last two, 153 and 154, they were the allegorical treatment of Greek epigrams, which referred to Cupid, love god. So this is how, and so this is the division of 154 sonnets. Sonnet from 1 to 126 were addressed to fair youth, and out of which 1 to 17 they were addressed to the fair youth in particular, or sonnet from 1 to 26 were addressed to commonly to a young man who was either Henry Wriothesley or William Harvey or William Herbert. These 154 sonnets were followed by a long narrative poem, A Lover's Complaint. So, in the publication that was published in quarto form in 1609, the 154 sonnets were published and they were followed by this, in the same collection, they were followed by The Lover's Complaint. It was not a sonnet sequence, rather, they composed of 47 7-line stanza. 7-line stanzas. There were 47 stanzas of 7 line. 7 line, which is rhyme royal. Rhyme royal was first introduced by Geoffrey Chaucer. It was the stanza of 7 lines which rhymed A B A B B C C, and it was used by King James first in his King's Square. So this 7-line stanza form was used by a monarch, a king, a royal person, and as such its name was Rhyme Royal. Geoffrey Chaucer used it as a 7-line stanza. After its use by James I in King's Square, it was known as Rhyme Royal. So this lover's complaint was written or composed in 47 stanzas of a 7 line each. This lover's complaint expressed misery of a woman victimized by a male desire. So lover of this title was a woman, not a man. The sonnets of Shakespeare do not have a separate title. Rather, they are numbered. Sonnet number 1, sonnet 1, sonnet 2, and so forth. Or rather, they are known by the first line, the opening line. So the opening line is the title itself. So they are identified either by the opening line of the sonnet or by the number they have. Sonnet number 1 is titled From Fairest Creatures We Desire Increase. This is the title of the first sonnet and the last sonnet, sonnet 154. So the little love god lying once asleep. So this little love god referred to Cupid. As we told that last two sonnets were allegorical treatment of Greek themes. So the first sonnet, the title is From Fairest Creatures We Desires Increase. or the last sonnet has the title The Little Love God Lying Once Asleep. This is important information. Sonnet number 138 and 144. They had been previously published in 1599 miscellany poems. 1599 miscellany poems in which the poems of different authors were published. And in other, The Passionate Pilgrims. The Passionate Pilgrims was published by William Jaggard. It was the collection of 20 poems and they were attributed to Shakespeare. So in these two collections, 1599 miscellany poems and Passionate Pilgrims, the sonnet number 138 and 144 had been previously published as well, besides getting published by Thomas Thorpe in 1609. First 17 sonnets are called Procreation Sonnets. Procreation Sonnets, as I've told you, that they were addressed to fair youth whom Shakespeare urges to marry and to beget children, to have children. So these 17 sonnets referred to the procreation, or as such they are labeled as Procreation Sonnets. Sonnet number 99 is in 15 lines. The rest of the sonnets are in 14 lines, but sonnet number 99 is in 15 lines. Sonnet number 126 consists of 6 couplets and 2 blank lines with italic brackets, marked with italic brackets. Sonnet number 145 is in iambic tetrameter. While rest of the sonnets are in iambic pentameter, this sonnet 145th is in iambic tetrameter. Iambic tetrameter means line of 8 syllable iambic pattern, unstressed followed by stressed syllable. Rest of them are in 10 syllable lines. So that is all for now. Hopefully this video has added something to your existing knowledge of sonnet in general and Shakespearean sonnets in particular. We'll come back very soon with yet another video taking yet another informative topic, particularly for TGT and PGT examinations. So till then, keep learning, stay motivated. Like this video, share it among your friends so that more and more people are benefited from these videos. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, don't forget to subscribe it right now. Thanks for watching.